If you are a woman who doesn't want the things that society has told you that you should want at this point in your life, if you're not really interested in the marriage, the kids, the conventional path, the white picket fence, the house in the suburbs, but you also don't want to run off to Costa Rica or like go and live in the mountains and live off grid, then this episode is for you. Because that's the real struggle in life, isn't it? It's like you want the freedom, you want the wildness, you want the space to breathe, but you also have bills to pay. You also want stability. You have responsibilities and goals that you're moving towards. So how do you stay wild in modern day society, in a world that is constantly trying to tame you? How do you move through life on your own terms without setting fire to the whole fucking thing and burning it down? That's what we're going to get into today. For those who don't know me, my name is Amy Ellis. I am a coach, mental content creator, and this is my podcast, Audacious and Untamed, which is a space for us to explore raw and unfiltered conversations. Nothing is too taboo in this space. Nothing is off limits. This is a place for you to reclaim your wild feminine power. And I'm here to call you back to yourself, louder, freer, more unapologetic and wilder, more audacious than ever. So let's get into it. Here's why you feel so caged and tamed in modern day society. The way that society is built up is not set up for women who don't want to follow the unconventional path. The whole system is set up to keep you burnt out, exhausted, trapped, filtered, suppressed. And if you're a woman who doesn't resonate with that, you're a woman that feels that wild woman yearning within, then this is going to make you feel really trapped and really caged and really fucking horrible, let's be honest. And I think the first point here is you have been trained to regulate yourself for other people's comfort. How many times have you been told in life that you're too much, you're too loud, don't be too emotional, don't be too dramatic, don't laugh too loudly, don't dance too freely, don't express your real opinions in groups in case it offends people or upsets people or rocks the boat. Don't ask for what you need or speak up if you're uncomfortable about something because you don't want to seem too difficult. Do you know, I think it's so funny how many times you go to restaurants with people and they complain about the food, but they will never say something to the waiter or the waitress because they don't want to be too difficult or they don't want to make it uncomfortable. But it's like, then don't you just feel uncomfortable because you're sat there not enjoying your food, feeling pissed off that you spent money about it. But this is the way that we've been conditioned, just to keep quiet. Or if you cry, people say don't cry and they start to feel really uncomfortable, and so that you learn just not to cry in front of people. If you're too loud, if you swear too much, then you're going to make other people feel uncomfortable because you're taking up too much space. I want you to think about how many times that you have been in a conversation with somebody and you felt something so deeply that you start to well up, you start to feel emotional, but then you hold it back and you push it down because you're like, I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. I don't want to seem like too much in this situation. I am a crier. I cry everywhere I go, and I find it so interesting that people get so uncomfortable with it. When I'm like, it's just an emotion, it's going to be released. This is how it moves through my body. Like, I'm okay. But people get so uncomfortable. They're like, I don't know what to do. Don't cry. Like, let me fix you. And it's like, no, that's not what it's about. It's just an emotion. It's a natural human emotion that I'm in touch with, and I want to let it out. Or how many times have you been in bed with somebody, right? You've been having sex with somebody or being intimate with somebody, and you want to make noise or you want to ask for something, but you hold back because you're scared that it's going to make that person uncomfortable. That person might not be able to handle it. And so again, like, you push it down. Or even when you're alone, I want you to think about a time when you feel something come through your body. Maybe it's pain, maybe it's discomfort, maybe it's anger, maybe it's sadness. And because you're so used to suppressing this, you reach for your phone or you watch Netflix to numb it out because it's like, I just need to distract myself from this. Because this is what we have been taught. This is what most of modern day society are doing. They're numbing themselves and they're disconnecting themselves from modern day society. And that's not to say that we shouldn't do that sometimes, right? We all need distraction at times. But if we're using it to constantly avoid how we really feel, then it's disconnecting us from our authentic selves. And this is what, for me, it means to be tamed, where you're not even fully in touch with your own emotions anymore. When you don't give yourself the freedom to feel anger, sadness, passion, all of these beautiful wide spectrum of emotions, because we have been taught that we need to be polite all the time or agreeable all the time or happy all the time. We have also been conditioned as a society to prioritize productivity over aliveness. We are taught that the more we do, then the more we are. But it's like, when was the last time you felt truly alive? I doubt it was scrolling on TikTok, although these things can bring us joy and content is such an amazing way to connect with happiness and joy and other feelings. Like, when was the last time you felt truly fucking alive, like present, alive in your body, connected to life? You likely feel guilty resting because you've been taught that you should always be doing something. Even if these things seem like activities that are supportive of your health, like yoga or meditation, like, is it something that's actually bringing you joy and making you feel alive? Or is it just a tick box exercise. I say this as somebody who used to have like a 12-step fucking morning routine, and honestly none of it brought me joy, but they were all things I felt that I should be doing, should in quotes there, because who the fuck told me that I needed to be doing these things? I don't know where I picked up this information, but it was this pressure from society, everything on social media, everything that I'm seeing the wellness gurus say, everything that I subconsciously picked up, informing me that I need to do more to make myself feel like I'm being more productive, to give myself this worthiness, this dopamine hit of checking off boxes of things that I don't actually want to do. How many of the things that you do, even if they seem like more creative hobbies, are tied to being useful rather than things that you actually enjoy doing? I want you to actually reflect on this. What are things that you do in your personal time, and are they actually bringing you joy? Are they connecting you back to yourself? Are they simply for the purpose of just doing something that you love and bringing pleasure into your life? Or is it so that you can go to bed at night and give yourself a pat on the back because you've done so many productive and useful things? Have you ever tried to just sit and do nothing and you just physically can't because it feels so unnatural that your head is swirling, you're thinking about all the things that you should be doing, and so it's impossible for you to feel relaxed. You actually don't know how to do it. You don't know how to sit in that silence. Or you go on a walk, and instead of allowing yourself to listen to your favorite music or just look at trees and look at the sky, you put on a podcast because you're like, oh, at least then I'm doing something productive. At least I'm learning. This is the modern day trap. You weren't meant to live in constant output. You weren't supposed to have other people's voices and opinions overstimulating your brain all the time. Your wildness, your wild woman, she thrives in presence, slowness, sensation. But we have been taught to be disconnected from these things. We have taught to be ashamed of these things. We've been taught that pleasure and experiencing joy is something that we should only have in small amounts. It's something that we should aim towards. Most of society spends Monday to Friday working jobs that they hate and then trying to make up for it Saturday and Sunday. Because Monday to Friday they feel so disconnected and they're just pushing through with life, and this is what we're taught is normal. When it's like, how can you weave in pleasure and sensuality and joy into everyday life? We all have shit that we don't want to do. We all have responsibilities. We all have bills to pay. We all have pressures in our own lives. But how can you still feel free and alive and wild during these moments? And this is what we're going to get into today. Another reason why I believe that we feel so caged in modern day society is that we have been taught to keep our body and our movement and our expression really small and controlled and contained. As women, we're taught to cross our legs and to keep ourselves cute. Think about when you go on a train, right? The guys that come on the train, they're not thinking, let me just put my elbows in, let me just put my legs in. No, they're sat, they're taking up space, their legs are spread, they're taking up the elbow rest, they don't give a shit. But women, we're taught, oh no, we need to keep it contained, we need to keep it polite. You only dance when you're drunk, or you only dance when you've had something to release your inhibitions a bit more. How much do you allow yourself to moan in pleasure when you stretch? It's deemed totally normal in today's society. Going to a yoga class and really allowing yourself to stretch and really feel the pleasure in those movements, people look at you like you're fucking crazy. And when you do move your body, it's in a structured masculine way. I love yoga, for example, but it's a routine. And it can be very performative. How often do you allow yourself to move your body in like a very free, primal way where it's purely for your own pleasure and purely to release anything that needs to be released from your body? How often do you sit in a room and you feel tense and your shoulders are up by your ears and you feel like you want to stretch and you move, but you don't because you're like, people are going to think I'm weird. People are going to look at me funny. Or you get into bed and you instinctively curl up in a little ball rather than allowing yourself to take up space. This is another key part of feeling trapped in society. We are taught that we shouldn't take up too much space, whether that is vocally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and the body as a vessel for life. If this feels caged, it's going to impact all the other areas of your life as well. So I want to get into some practical tips to how to stay wild in modern day society. And this is a journey that I have been on myself. Somebody who has fought to reclaim her wildness over the past few decades. And I want to share with you some of the really practical things that I do and that I share with my clients that can be weaved into everyday life. You don't need to do anything fancy. You don't need any spiritual activations. You don't need any expensive tools. These are just simple tips to help you connect with your wild woman in modern day society, to help you feel more free and untamed. Because that's what I want for every woman, truly. Okay, so the first one is I want you to move like a wild woman every single day. And if you're a woman who is not used to moving freely and without instructions, at first this might feel really fucking uncomfortable, okay? So I want you to start doing it in the privacy of your own home. I want you to shake. I want you to stretch. I want you to spend a few minutes every day actually feeling in and connecting with your body and like, where do I feel tension? What needs to be moved through me today? And if you struggle to do this, first of all, then what I'm going to recommend is put on a song that you really love and just allow yourself to dance freely to it. There are a few things that I do every day that honestly keep me sane, keep me grounded, keep me feeling free, keep me out of my head and in my body. And they are not rocket science. You're going to listen to them and be like, Amy, anyone could fucking tell me this on the internet. But are you doing it? That's the question I want to ask you. And the first one is putting on whatever song I am obsessed with at the moment and allowing myself to just fucking dance like a crazy person. If anyone follows me on social media or on TikTok or anything, most of my videos of me either eating with my hands because I love doing that and just dancing because that is what I'm doing in my free time. That is how I'm connecting back with myself. That's how I'm bringing joy into my day. We all have shit that we need to do, right? We all have dishes to wash and cleaning to do and boring shit to do, but it's like, how can you make that as joyous as possible? And how can you come out of your head and all this overthinking and, oh, what do people think I look like? And, oh, this is silly, and come into your body. Because the more that you do it, the easier and more natural this is going to become. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it in a public space, do it in the privacy of your own home, okay? Lock the doors, lower the blinds, put on some music, and fucking allow yourself to express yourself through your body physically in a way that feels good for you. Stretch, moan, release whatever it is. And the more that you do this, the more that you are going to feel amazing. Think about when you go to a party, right, or a wedding, or you've had a couple of drinks, whatever. And once you get past the initial awkwardness of feeling silly of dancing, you feel amazing afterwards. You feel euphoric. You feel like, oh my God, that was so much fun. I want you to be connecting with this daily. The more that you do this, the easier it becomes, the less uncomfortable you feel, and the more you are going to feel wild and untamed, and the more you're going to notice what feels good in your body, and you're going to allow yourself to experience that in its fullest expression. When you think about animals, right, they stretch when they wake up. Full body, uninhibited, making noise, like growling, stretching, whatever it is they need to do. That is what your body is craving, but you've trained yourself out of this. And you will notice the more that you do this, the more that your body is going to naturally crave it. I used to get up and just go about my day many moons ago. Now I get up and I do 10 to 15 minutes of just stretching. I don't put on a YouTube video. I'm not following anything. I just stretch my body in a way that feels good for me. Now, when I get up, I have to do it. My body craves it straight away. And this is what's going to happen to you as well. You're going to get in touch with your bodily cues and your body is just going to start to crave it and your body's going to let you know what you need to move. I want you to start moving like nobody is fucking watching. First of all, because most people, even if you were doing this in public, like people might look for 1 minute, but most people are only thinking about themselves. And second of all, you are going to remember what your body feels like to actually feel free. Think about when you were a little kid. You used to dance like nobody was watching. You didn't care. Then along the way, somebody made a comment, you started to feel the peer pressure of like having to perform a certain way, you started to get embarrassed, you go through your life and this was stripped away from you. You can get that back. You can dance freely again. You can move freely again like you did as a little child without a care in the world. You just have to practice and you just have to keep going to get back there. Second of all, I want you to check what stories you are telling yourself about what you should or shouldn't do and the rules that you are supposed to live by. And I want you to break one every day. Now, you might be listening to this and immediately think I mean something really big, like breaking the law or like smashing something or like, I don't know, going on a protest. This is not what I mean. What I mean by this is start to check the stories you're telling yourself and start to notice where you say, oh, I can't do that because of this. An example could be here. I'm going to give you an example of my own personal life. I had breakfast the other morning and then literally an hour later at like 9 a.m. I was starving and I was like, I feel like I could eat balls and pasta. And I said to myself, you can't do that, Amy, it's 9 o'clock. And I caught myself and I said, who the fuck told me that I can't eat a full meal at 9 a.m. if I'm hungry? Like, who have I been brainwashed by? The cereal companies? Like women telling me that, is it diet culture? I don't know where I picked it up from, but my body was hungry and I was denying her food because of this rule that I had somehow set within myself that I shouldn't eat a meal at 9 a.m. that wasn't breakfast food. We pick up so many of these. For example, oh no, I can't wear this outfit to this event because they've told me that I need to wear casual wear. Who fucking cares? I don't want to wear this outfit because it's too bold, it's too slutty, it's too outrageous. Who made up this rule? Wear what you want. Oh, I can't be 5 minutes late to this event because then this is going to happen. Let yourself be late. Give yourself the grace. If you are someone that feels like they always need to be responsible, skip something, bail on something, let somebody down. If you are tired, disappoint somebody and have an evening of self-care. Let yourself be unreliable just once and see how fucking good it feels, because the world is going to keep turning, okay? If you are someone that always over-justifies and over-explains and like gives somebody a 12-page PowerPoint presentation as to why you don't want to do something, stop explaining your choices. Just for once, be like, no, thank you, I can't make this today, have a good time, or I'm sorry, I don't have the energies for this today. And really start to change all of these rules that you've set for yourself. Maybe you have a rule that I can't let someone down because I don't want to be a bad person. That's a story that you're telling yourself that is not actually true. You can let people down and you can still be a good person. The world does not give you a permission slip to be wild. You have to take it back. You have to take it into your own hands. Okay, number 3. I want you to stop filtering yourself so much and start saying what you mean unapologetically and with conviction. If you are someone that usually sugarcoats, who softens your words, who really carefully and probably in a way that's really mentally exhausting for you, really shapes their words so that they don't offend or upset other people, I want you to stop doing this. Firstly, because there is no way that you can go through life without pissing people off and offending people. It's going to happen. It's out of your control because you're not responsible for how other people perceive what you are saying. So, take the pressure off yourself. Let that mental exhaustion and that, overthinking and that overanalyzing go, and watch how much energy returns to you. Stop explaining why you choose what you choose. Stop justifying the decisions that you make. You can just catch yourself here. Maybe someone says, are you going to sing? And you go... Maybe someone says to you, are you going to this event? And you're about to say, no, because... Instead, just say, no, I can't make it. Okay? And sit with that. Again, practice with this. These things might feel uncomfortable at first, but the more that you do it, the more comfortable that you are going to become with no longer justifying everything that you do. Another one is catch where you're always saying yes when you want to say no, and stop doing that. Let people be uncomfortable with your truth, because it's not your job to make them okay with it. And this might feel really icky at first, especially if you're a people pleaser. Hello, recovering people pleaser myself. But again, the more that you do this, the more it becomes more comfortable for you, and the more you call your power and your energy back to yourself, because you don't owe anybody an explanation. Maybe next time somebody asks you what you want, say the truth, not what you think that they want to hear. If you're in bed with somebody and they say, do you like that? And you don't, tell them, this isn't really... You can tell them in a way that doesn't have to be so offensive and so cutthroat. You can say, maybe we could try something else, or I'm not really feeling that tonight, rather than just nodding along and saying yes and then feeling really uncomfortable yourself. A classic example in England is women when they get their hair done and they fucking hate it, and the hairdresser says, do you like it? And you say, yeah, and then you go home and you call your friend and you go, I hate my hair. Tell them, actually, it doesn't really look like what I thought it was going to look like. Is there something we can do about it? If a waiter brings your food and it's cold, rather than saying, oh no, don't worry, say, actually my food's cold, or this isn't what I ordered, and send it back, okay? People are going to, they might have a small piece of rejection, but wouldn't you rather disappoint somebody else than disappoint yourself, okay? Wild women don't shrink to make other people uncomfortable. Wild women don't shrink to make other people comfortable. And the sooner you stop, the sooner that you're going to start to feel like your more untamed self again. And if you're somebody that really struggles with communication and setting boundaries and saying no and asking for what you want, I have a self-paced mini course that is amazing for this called The Untamed Voice, which teaches you all about step-by-step how to ask for what you want, how to set boundaries. There's boundary scripts, there's somatic practices, there's nervous system regulating practices for if you're having a difficult conversation, the whole thing. I'll put a link in my show notes. Okay, the fourth and final tip that I'm going to give you today is eat like a wild woman. If you think about it, most of us eat 3 meals a day, probably some snacks as well. And most people see it as just something that you do. Okay, I've got to have lunch, I've got to have dinner, I've got to have breakfast. When food is one of the most pleasurable things in the world. If you can learn to bring your senses into this and actually experience food and eating as pleasure, you are going to feel way more connected to your wild woman. Okay, you weren't meant to eat like a robot. When people say food is fuel, it blows my mind. I'm like, what do you mean food is fuel? Food is fuel, but food is also one of life's greatest pleasures. And if you sit with it and enjoy it, that is a way to weave so much pleasure and so much presence and joy and sensuality into every single day. Okay, most people just shove food down while they're scrolling. How many of you do that? Like eating quickly between tasks, maybe even just eating whilst you're working, barely tasting what's in your mouth. That is survival mode. Wildness is slowness. It's pleasure. It's using all of your senses. So here are some practical tips for how to eat in a more sensual way. First one, my favorite, eat with your hands. Now, if you're out in public, maybe this feels too uncomfortable for you at first, but like if you're at home and okay, if it's soup, maybe don't do this. But for most things, you can eat with your hands in a way, like really feel the texture of your food. Allow your fingers to touch your lips when you're eating. Like get messy, lick your fingers, wipe your chin, let the juices drip down your chin. Our ancestors weren't eating with a knife and fork, like trying to chew with our mouths closed, being really polite, no elbows on the table. Let yourself experience the food. Number 2 is eat slowly. Savor every bite. Notice the flavors, notice the texture on your tongue, the way that your body reacts to the food. Really tune in and just like slow everything down. Third one is eat without distractions, okay? No Netflix, no TikTok. Just be present with your food and allow yourself to like tune into all of your senses as you're doing it. So feel your body in contact with the surface that you're on. Look around the room or look at your food as you're eating it. Smell your food. Feel the texture of it. Really tune into how it tastes and how much pleasure that brings you. Savor it. I want you to think about a time that you ate something so good that you closed your eyes and it almost felt orgasmic. That's what food is supposed to feel like. That's what eating food is supposed to feel like. That's what presence tastes like. Most people think that sensuality is like this, like being really sexy and like being really intimate. Sensuality is being in touch with your senses. And the more that you can do this, the more you are going to feel in touch with your wild woman, because your wild woman is sensual by nature and she is connected to that. Like, when was the last time you allowed yourself to sit and really enjoy your food? I understand that sometimes we have to eat on the go. Sometimes we have to eat while we work, but like start to make meal times a real sensual and pleasurable experience. If you can eat outside, amazing. And you might actually notice some guilt creeping in here, like, oh, like I can't just sit and enjoy a meal because I have to do all of these things. Again, this is just conditioning to keep you trapped in the hustle culture. Like, you can take 20 minutes to eat your lunch and the world will not stop turning. With love, you're not that important. Okay, wildness is not about running to the forest and running in the woods. Like, if you want to do that, that's cool. I do that. I love to do that. But it's about fully experiencing life and all the sensations that it has to offer. And it starts with something as simple as eating your food. Like, you actually enjoy being alive and you're grateful and you're present and you're here and you're now. You don't have to quit your job and cut off all your friendships and run off and live in a cabin in the forest and like burn your entire life down to be a wild woman in modern day society. You don't have to run off to an ayahuasca retreat. You don't have to do these big crazy things. Being a true wild woman in modern day society is about learning to connect with yourself, your senses, your body, your pleasure, your joy, your presence in every moment. You have to start making choices that feel like freedom instead of ones that just feels like obligation and patterns and autopilot that you've been running for so many years because that's what everybody else is doing. It's becoming aware and making a conscious choice to do things differently. Okay, your wild woman isn't lost. She's still within you. She's just waiting for you to reconnect with her and let her out. If this hit for you today, if this resonated and you're ready to not just talk about the wildness, but actually start to embody it on a physical, spiritual, emotional, mental level, this is what we're going to do inside Wild Woman Initiation. Wild Woman Initiation is a 4-week live transformative program for the woman who is ready to break the rules, reclaim her fire, and fully unleash herself. You'll be joining a group of other wild women going through an initiation to reclaim the wild woman within. There's 4 live weekly calls. There's a bunch of resources for you to do at your own leisure. There's a live community of other like-minded sisters, and we start on the 4th of March. Doors are open now, and if you are ready to move through life in a way that actually turns you on and makes you feel completely connected to yourself and your body and that wild woman within you, this is for you. The link is in the show notes below. I'd love to see you there. If you have any questions at all, DM me. If you liked this episode, please like, follow, subscribe, drop me a comment below and tell me what you're going to be implementing differently from this episode. Thank you all for your support. I love you all so much, and I'm so excited to help you reclaim the wild woman. Lots of love.